Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
Welcome to Square Root Podcast for everybody, episode number 88. Today we have special guest, Mr. Herb Simmons. How's it going?
All right.
How you doing,
Herb,
sir?
how you doing tonight?
Hey guys, how you doing? A pleasure to be on here. I know you guys have been just keep racking these things up, and it's really great.
Well, your voice went down on my end. I don't know.
How about now?
There we go.
Somebody was trying to call in.
Oh. Hey, so we already talked to Herb. Well, I talked to him a little bit earlier, and I was like, hey, normally these podcasts, when we have Herb on, it's like 3-4 hours deep. I swore to him that we'll try to keep it to an hour and a half or so. So we have this. Well, let's first, before we tell everyone what's new, what's going on, let's talk about the last show for a little bit. How cool was it that Team SICW won that match, and Ron Powers put Attila Khan to sleep, won the match for us, not just for you, for us. That way, SICW stays with you, stays with the family. How was that match for you? I know you're probably on pins and needles.
Well, that was November 23rd, and I'm telling you, people are still talking about it. I'm still getting text messages, congratulations, and it's one thing to get them from our loyal fans, but I've been getting them from around the country, people who have been following this whole saga for the last year, and I'm talking about people like Tito Santana, Jerry Briscoe. Guys that are good friends of SICW that was just as excited as we all were that it ended up the way it did. And, when you got legends like that calling you and saying, hey, keep up the good work, keep the legacy of wrestling in the St. Louis region alive and well. That I think it says a lot. But, and then, like I said, that our true loyal fans, one of the largest crowds there in a long time at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds. They just kept pouring in. I looked at during the second match after they started, the door was still packed and people were just pushing their way in. And so it turned out to be a great thing. I'm still on an all-time high, I think, after 51 years. To know that within a blink of an eye or 3 count or somebody it could have turned out the opposite.
Right.
It could have been we could have been sitting here soaking in our oats right now or cereal.
I thought it was so cool because normally, we see 1 or 2 of your family members, but your whole family turned out for that match for the show. And after the victor was in your favor or our favor, the ring filled up with all your family members, the wife, the daughter, the kids, the grandkids, and the great grandkids. That had to be a special moment right there. Is just have all your family in the ring.
Well, it was. I said I referred to it. I know what now the World Series winners feel like, and the Super Bowl. To have the family there, and then the extended family of the guys in the locker room show up out at ringside. It really made it all worthwhile. And then the little celebration in the back. Again, like I said, I know what the big time superstars felt like for just a few moments, and I'm actually still feeling it because, we get through that and then we jump right into the fire. Trying to prepare for 2025 now that we don't have to stay in limbo. We don't have to some of the negotiations that I've been having to put on hold until that November 23rd date got over with. Now we got to get those in line and make sure we're ready to kick off 2025.
Yeah, like I see on January 10th, you're bringing an old friend Danny Dollar back.
Yeah, Danny reached out to me, and him and I was together down in Arkansas a couple of months ago, and at a little fan fest that our good friend Jason Jones had put together from Mid States, and I mean, Danny's looking good. He's been traveling all over, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to get back up to your way." And sure enough, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm available right after the first of the year if you got anything going." And I told him, and so he's in for the Friday night special matches at January the 10th.
Nathan's got a picture up on the screen. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's clearly Ron Powers pouring a little bit of the bubbly on your head. And clearly, it's probably either Ron or Bob Orton, one of the two, clearly just pouring champagne on you. I mean, he can take that picture off the screen anytime now, because Gary Jackson will probably get mad that you caught him pouring champagne on Herb.
I love the look on Gary's face.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. That look on Gary's face is great.
I think the look on Gary's face says it all. Where that, if you look at his facial expression to where that bottle is in the air, and you follow that bottle down in a downward direction, I think it ends up on the arm of the biggest guy there.
Bobby D, I agree totally with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can see, even Cowboy Bob is staring at that bottle.
Yeah, I'll tell you though.
I'll tell you what, when the person who was pouring the fluid on him, I kind of took a glance back at Ron Powers, and he was looking like, oh my God, too. It just wasn't seen in that particular photo, but
yeah. But how cool it was to have everybody back there, and then for Ron and Danny Boy and Gary to go out there and do what they did. And I mean, after what everybody throughout the whole year had been through, yourself, Bobby D, with the likes of Stephen E, and then Travis Cook entered into the picture later on. And but I mean, what a way to celebrate that. And then I was so happy, the last week's episode of SICW All-Star Wrestling, I think, told the whole story. Normally I don't have the production people put the finishes and that on TV because, we want people to come and support the cause. But what a monumental moment, such great camera work, Nate. I got to thank you and your staff. And then that overhead view that we had from the fairgrounds there. But I think that roving camera told a lot of the stories that we may have not saw had we not had it there. I mean, we're over a couple thousand views just in a couple of days on that Sunday night show, which I think is just great for a little video independent promotion, that's continuing the legacy.
Hey, not to toot our horn or anything too, but we kind of piggyback off of the SICW All-Star Wrestling show. We talk about the show, throughout the week of whatever the previous Sunday show was. And I tell you, everyone seems to be loving SICW right now, and everyone is giving you props. They're talking to us about it. They're showing us too, just by subscribing to our channel and giving us the views as well. So, I think I checked it last before we got on. It's like 1,600 views. Our last podcast, it's got roughly around 150 views, and that's just for a little independent podcast. I mean, it's just great. Everyone is loving SICW, and that's just great for all of us.
Well, I think you said it right there. It's a team effort, not one person. It's a team effort. Everybody is really putting it out there. That's why, I start on Monday morning and saying, hey, we're up to so many views from the show the night before. And this last Sunday, I didn't get to tune in right at first, but some people that was watching and said there wasn't a lot of people on there chatting like there usually is. So of course that gets me a little worried. I'm thinking, well, where's everybody at on a Sunday night? Maybe it's the Thanksgiving weekend. They've got other things to do. They're getting ready to go back to work. But then when I wake up on Monday morning, there's close to 700 views on it. And so either that or a lot of the wrestling fans are like me, stay up all night and watched it and tuned in on it, and which is great. But I think it just shows that SICW is doing it the right way. We're giving the fans what they like, old school wrestling. And, when you got a locker room with guys like you and Bobby D and Gary Jackson and, the list goes on, the Brandon Berettas and you name them all. And everybody's got their own little niche that adds a lot. It may be just a little bit, but man, it really adds up when you put it all together.
Oh, definitely. You got the legends of, Ron Powers and Gary Jackson. You got the guys that's been in here for a long time, like me and Bobby. But then you got the newcomers that's pretty much taken the world by storm in Brandon Beretta. So I mean, you got a great mix of new, old, and veterans and everything. So I think that's what's best in the locker room. Plus, the new guys are listening to the veterans.
Well, that's it. That's it in a nutshell right there. You can have all the new talent you want in there, but if they're not willing to listen to the veterans, they're just a little spot on the wall as far as I'm concerned. Because another gentleman who's going to join us in January is Austin Mulatalo. He'll be back. And there's another a guy that's out setting it on fire and traveling all over the place. I can't say I'm enjoying what he's doing nowadays. He seemed to take a jump over to the dark side, and I think someday he'll realize that you don't have to do that, and you take those shortcuts for a reason. And he doesn't have to, because he's got the talent to go out there and do it the right way. But again, we bring those guys in. They get called to go to other promotions if that's what they choose to do, and it's usually outside the 25-mile rule. That's still something they talk about nowadays. I think that's the longest talked about thing in the Midwest. That's almost 15 years they've been talking about that. And but those guys are doing it the right way. Brandon Beretta. He's not down the road 10 miles. He's in Ohio. He's in OVW. He's Southern Missouri, Arkansas, places like that. So in the last I checked the map, that was longer than that was farther than 25 miles.
Right.
So,
all right. So we retook the promotion, or just guaranteed that it's going to be in your hands. And like you said, you had a lot of stuff kind of put to the side, waiting for the 23rd to be done and over with. So it is. You have the promotion. What's next for SICW?
Well, what's first is everybody gets the month of December off, like we always do for the holidays, and I want everybody to spend time with their the families, and we'll all get together and we'll digest what took place in 2024, and I'm sure a few of us will be roasted. I don't know if we'll have any champagne poured on us or anything like that, but we will definitely get together and just talk about how we improve on what we did in 2024. I can tell you, the Shriners are a great show we do there. They've already booked March the 29th is our return trip there for 2025. The fire department in Fairmont City has already reached out to me about dates. Don Hyman from Breeze, Illinois has already reached out to me. So those repeat organizations that we go back year after year, I think tells the whole story that we wouldn't be going back year after year if we weren't doing it the right way. The NASCAR folks have talked to me. There's going to be several dates there that they've already gave us that we're just waiting to get everything finalized on them. I think that was, I tell people I wish they'd have come along 20 years ago. because I think you guys, both of you, would admit the racing and wrestling was a special occasion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And when we sit here, especially us, and then even including Nate, because he's been along with the ride, but when you talk about the Chase Park Plaza Hotel, you talk about the Missouri Athletic Club, you talk about all the special events that we've done, plus we do the monthly show, we do the TV show, again, for a small little promotion. I think we're checking all the boxes the right way.
Oh, definitely. What I was leaning more towards, though, was a little announcement that you kind of gave out during the show this past Sunday. And you kind of leaned toward it, too. Last week, there was a special little midweek announcement. But I've heard it, FanFest 3.
Yeah, FanFest 3, I had to give it a lot of thought from FanFest 2. You and Bobby especially know that it was a logistical nightmare, FanFest 2, when you had 61 legends, 60 trips back and forth to the airport. Not all the legends fly in at the same time. They don't all fly out at the same time. And I thought Nick Rednar, who helps me out with that, is a big part of it. We had to really digest on do we want to do a FanFest 3? We knew there was some obstacles that we had to overcome at the previous hotel that we've used. 2 years in a row, we had some issues there, as a lot of people know, with the air conditioning. I like the venue, I like the location, but I couldn't have fans in there when they get crowded in there, like you guys know they were.
Right.
And they're hot. When people get hot, they get irritable, and I don't want irritable wrestling fans. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to have a good time. So I actually started about 2 months ago, after I made up my mind. Yeah, I'll try it again. I'm still about an eighth of a tank of gas left in the tank. But I had to get through the November 23rd. And so I started looking for hotels that would be feasible and could provide what we needed. And so I ended up out at the Hilton at the St. Louis airport. And they wanted me to hurry up and ink the contract. But I said, we had until November 23rd, we had to wait. And
Right.
But I assured them that if everything went okay, then that would be the first thing that would be on my mind that following Monday, which it was. And so the contract has been inked. It's a deal. That's why we've advertised it. I think as of today, we've advertised a couple of legends that's going to be there already. Grangrel, another promotion, contacted me and said, hey, they want to be a part of it. And I got to tell you, I'm shocked of the buzz that is going on about FanFest 3 right now. My wife and I talked about it at dinner tonight that, the phones are ringing. People are purchasing their tickets. I don't know if they're doing it for Christmas gifts. They're making their reservations already at the hotel. People from Canada, from Texas. And here we are. It's just about 72 hours or so since we made the official announcement. And again, that's exciting. I hope it keeps up. I hope people come out and enjoy it. I think having it at the Hilton saves us a lot of logistic problems. They offer a shuttle every 15 minutes back and forth to the airport. So that takes a big load off of us having to make sure we're getting our guests in and out.
That's going to help with the fans and the legends that are brought in. It's going to help with everything.
Yeah. The other legend we announced, I don't know if you saw it tonight, Tito Santana is coming back in, and it gets to be another decision on who do you bring in year after year if you're going to do these things. But being in a new location, Uh, I've had several. I mean, and I'm talking. I'll say a lot of people text me and say, "Hey, we haven't been able to make FanFest 1 and 2, but we're making this one." So then I feel okay. Well, they weren't there for 1 and 2, so they didn't get to meet the Tito Santanas. So it's a gamble that, yeah, some people will say, well, he was there last year, or so and so was there last year. Why are you bringing him back in? Well, one, there's not a lot of the legends out there that are making appearances. We've lost a lot of them. But when you got a Tito Santana there, I think people come out to see him just to continue to hear the stories that he tells.
Well, I
And
think the good thing about Tito is, I think last year when you started bringing him around, that's when he actually started going to, different fan fests. He wasn't a legend that you always seen at every single fan fest across the U.S. He just recently
right.
started doing these.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that I pat myself on the back for, which I don't do a whole bunch, but there have been some of the legends that weren't on the road. Stan Hansen, before I got with him and said, "Hey, you got to get out there." He didn't think anybody would care. Well, guess what? Now Stan's out there, and hopefully his health holds up and he can make a few more of them. But he had some issues last year that he had to cancel, but he was with us the first year. And so, but again, these are longtime friends that if they can make it, they're going to make it for us. And like I said, right now, I think as we sit here tonight, I think we got about 13 legends already signed on board. And here, like I said, we're only 72 hours basically into the planning stages here. I don't know what the cutoff's going to be. Last year I kept on saying, what's enough? The one thing I do know for sure, it will not be 60 for 2025.
But will you consider the Faces of Fear just to rub it in their face?
Well, one of the painful things out of this whole ordeal was the Haku. He was a friend, dear friend, as you guys know, and for that to go down that way, I'm going to have to really think about that. He may have to call me and ask me.
But I mean, like, what good would that feel? Hey, you can still come to my promotion, not your promotion.
Yeah, and I kind of like the way you're thinking there, Bobby. It's kind of like rubbing salt in the wound, and so I've thought about that, and everybody up to a point, I think, would always come to see Haku because he's so easy to talk with, and he really enjoys St. Louis. And but
something that's changes in the ring with him.
Yeah, I was going to say we got plenty of time for me to think about that, to digest it. But I think that as we move forward here, the Hall of Fame, we'll have that again this year. We've got right now, we've probably got 4 people that's already we've selected to go into the Hall of Fame, the class of 2025. That I think that people are going to be excited about. I'm waiting for confirmation on one that some people might say, well, why? But it's our Hall of Fame, so I'm going to put in there who I want to put in there. Especially when I know it means something to the business and for the business. So. But I think the Hall of Fame that Friday night, to have Bill Apter come back and in 2025, and instead of him doing his one-man show, which I think was a great hit last year, this year we've talked about it, and he's going to do a question and answer session with the legends that will be in town early. And the fans that purchase a ticket for that will be able to sit in there and and interact with the legends and ask questions and hear stories. And so I think that would go over pretty good. I reached out to Nathan Orton. He has kind of slowed down on his comedy routine in New York. But if that picks back up, then I think he went over so great last year. I'll make every attempt to work him in somehow on that Friday night or even Saturday afternoon.
Let me cut you off for a second, because I know you talked about on the show that the first 50 people that booked was going to get a free ticket to that Friday night show. Are you close to that 50 mark, or is there
It's
still
booked.
some chances for people
No,
to pick up?
no, that's what I'm saying. I am so excited. That's filled up already.
Wow, I mean that's
Uh,
unbelievable there.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, we got the report this morning from the hotel, which is just like I said, it blew my mind. People, if you asked me to tell you why, I can't believe that was the carrot that got them to do it. It's just people are texting me and saying, "Man, I'm getting a lot of feedback about Gangrel."
Yeah.
People, hey, we're great to see him. So I don't know. There's not one thing I can. I mean, it can't be that FanFest 1 and 2 was such a great thing that everybody wants to come and see FanFest 3. I mean, I'd love to think it was that, but I think it's a combination of things. I don't know if it's the new location. Um, Everything else, the Bruiser Brody Memorial is going to take place. So I think it's just several different things that have caused those first 50 tickets to go like hotcakes. Somebody got a dog barking.
Yeah, that's Jim's dogs.
Oh, I hope nobody's breaking in.
I say, I like how he looked over there, though, the dog got quiet.
Yep. Well, if
Yeah, I
it's
was pretty
somebody,
excited when I
if
saw
it's
the
somebody
Gangrel one.
crazy enough to break into Jim's house, they deserve what they get.
Couple lariats.
Yeah, but no, I think, yeah, I mean, and it's like the room, the hotel even worked with me. I think they gave a little bit less than the cost of what last year's rooms were.
Nice.
And that's why I know that there's people booked from Texas already, from Canada, from Ohio. Yeah, and I know it'll slow down, especially as we get closer to the holiday here. But that's why I've started kind of advertising. If somebody's looking for that nice, easy, special gift for that special someone, what easier way to go in sicw.org and purchase the tickets and put that in a Christmas card and give it to your friend or your loved one, and let them come May 16th and 17th of 2025 for a great mid-year Christmas present.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of work into putting it together. Getting the talent for the Bruiser Brody Memorial. That's all got to be put together, and making sure we get the permits in on time. And so there's a lot of work to put one of these things together. I had a gentleman today, nephew of the late great Bert Prentice. He works up in Waterloo, Iowa area, runs a little promotion up there, and he called me and said, "Hey, how do I put together a small fan fest? How do I get guys to come in?" And so I gave him some pointers on what he's got to do. But like I told him, don't think it comes easy. I mean, it takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I mean I've been to a couple outside of SICW, and it was a nightmare just being a fan going to other ones. And I think we put on a bigger show last year. So I mean, I could just imagine the headache that caused, last year. I mean, just 61 wrestlers, and that's just not the boys in the locker room. Because like you were talking about Bruiser Brody, the Battle Memorial, there was more wrestlers coming in from other organizations as well. So I mean,
Well, that's the thing. We've opened it up to other promotions if they want to be a part of this. I mean, I said it the other night. I was doing another podcast. Why promotions wouldn't jump on board and help promote their own product is beyond me. But again, that it's their business how they do it. But several of them, Jason Jones, Space Cowboys, already on board. Even John Roberts, Redneck Championship Wrestling, has signed on board. He's bringing in the American Giant. So I mean, it's just things like that you can help promote your own promotion. In return, helps promote everybody's business. And but again, I can only make the offer. If they don't want to do it, that's on them. We'll do just like we did for the last two. We'll have a good time, and they can watch about it or read about it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, what's great about the Fan Fest is you put a whole bunch of eyes on St. Louis again. We kind of lost that when we lost Wrestling at the Chase. We thought we were going to get another shot when the NWA came to town, but it looks like they're not coming back anymore. And you're like the golden standard. You've been here since the Wrestling at the Chase. You're still here now. We still see SICW in the future, but we're putting eyes back on the St. Louis market. And I think that's just great. Plus bringing in the legends that, like you said, we're losing a lot of them. And last year, my God, how many podcasts did we start off with saying we got some terrible news? I mean, it was like a lot of wrestlers passed away last year, and it was just crazy. So we got to celebrate the ones that are still with us. Even I heard that you're bringing in, well, I don't know if you're bringing them in, but some family members of some wrestlers. Was it Ox Baker? His family members are coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, unfortunately, some guys like that aren't with us. They can't enjoy or appreciate the fact of them being recognized. So, you got to have the ones that have families. You want to be able to honor their loved ones in some way or the other. But like I said, I think it's going to be the Hall of Fame this year will be. It was great last year. I mean, how great was it to have Randy Orton show up and induct his dad? I mean, I can only tell you, I had promotions from around the country. I even had one from the UK reach out to me and ask me, how in the heck did you pull that off? How did you get WWE allow them to do that? And I told him, I said, I kind of joked with him at first. I said, hey, I got connections, But no, that was all Randy. Randy made that decision to do that. And I'm glad he did. And people are still talking about it to this day, about how easy he was to talk to. And, he didn't just pop in, do the thing and pop out. I mean, he hung around there and met several of the special guests and things. And his family sat there in the back and ate. And, it was great to see him interacting. And Bob was just smiles, and his mom. And but for us to say, Randy Orton got into the SICW ring, I think is another milestone for us on our to do our completed list.
Let me let's show this off here real quick. This is let's see if I can get a better picture. So this is a present that I'm giving Bob. It's just classic picture of all of his family members in the ring. This is pretty big here. It's a 16 by 20. It's a canvas print, and it just is awesome. Even his wife didn't get into the ring last year, but she's down here at the bottom smiling, and it's just a great picture. So yeah, that was kind of unbelievable what you were able to pull off.
I think Jim, you and Bobby, Nate. I mean, it's not for me. I mean, the fans get to enjoy that. Now, did he go out there and shake hands with all the fans? No, but you got to understand who he is and what he's accomplished in his life. He is a star status. He is somebody that has accomplished a lot. So yeah, he's a star without a doubt. But just for him to show up there and do that, I think it was awesome. It's like I thanked him and I said, hey, I hope this doesn't cause you any problems. And he said, I learned some time ago, it's better to go ahead and do it and ask for forgiveness later. And but no, Randy's a great guy, and the whole Orton family is, and that's why Bob is so special to all of us. I know you guys have bonded over the last couple of years, and he's kind of special to all of us. So.
Yeah, well, you know how you were just saying that, he wasn't able to sign a whole bunch of autographs. When he first got introduced, and he sat down with the rest of his family, he was on the edge where his family was. He was the last one in the seat. And I tell you, he was sneaking over, and he was signing autographs and taking pictures. And, he was letting the fans come to him. And to me, I was shocked at that too, because, I thought too that, he, has done so much, and he's a current star, and, you guys snuck him in basically, and but he was still open up to, sign autographs and take pictures, and clips from that show, that segment, hit YouTube and hit TikTok, and there was other podcasts talking about that. And, that was a moment, St. Louis history right there.
Well, and I don't know if you remember, but Bill Apter did an interview with him in the back in the green room. And I've got that. And I mean, I get it out and play it every now and then. It's after Bill is talking to him and Bob. And of course, Bob, as you guys know, isn't a talker, but unless you prod it out of him. But, Randy is great. And so he's talking about, life after wrestling. And they get to the end of the promo, and Bill asked him, said, what is life after wrestling going to be? And Randy starts saying a few things. And Bill says, well, maybe you'll come out and get with Herb Simmons in SICW. And Randy says, that sounds like something to be fun. So to me, or something along that, I'm kind of ad-libbing it, but it was that's what it was. Bill threw it out there, and he bid on it. But I'm thinking, man, and that got played all over. Bill, after Sportskeeda, they played that for a week or so afterwards, and Bill would always send me a text and say, man, where I'm getting all kinds of hits about Randy coming to work for SICW when he retires, So what better way to have dad and son working with Big Texan and them at the Ace Wrestling Academy,
Oh, that would be great. So the hotel is close to the airport. Did we even mention the dates yet? Was it May
16th and 17th? That Friday night, the 16th, like I said, will be like last year. Will be and this is a little bit different. This ballroom, everything is going to take place in the big ballroom. Last year at the Aviator, we had the other little room, but this one will be we'll have a kind of roped off, and the reason why we're gonna this hotel's a little bit different. You have to have their staff set things up, and because it's unionized and all of that stuff. So the plan is to set their chairs and everything up for the whole event and have them set up. If you remember last year, we had to run everybody out, then get the
Right.
chairs set up and all of that stuff. So the room's big enough to where I think, unless and please somebody help me not overbook this thing to where I don't have to worry about shortage of room. But we have it's got a big hallway in it, just like the other hotel has had. So we'll have the vendors set up out there, and but then so the Friday night will take place in the same ballroom as the Fan Fest will the next day.
Oh.
And so I think it's going to be a lot better, a lot easier to control. So that Friday night, 7:00, we'll do the question and answer with Bill After and the boys that are there. And then of course they told me that the bar and that will stay open. I had to guarantee them so much concession sales. That was kind of a little holdout. They didn't want to open the concession stand up until, only for a couple hours. And I said, and then I had to guarantee them so much money. I said, no, that's not going to fly. So we negotiated that and got that down right. And they've been good to work with. So I hope it works out good. And that way if for some strange reason there would ever be a Fan Fest 4, we could go back there, because they've been pretty easy to work with getting this done once I was able to sit down around the table with them and tell them what the do's and don'ts were, because they've never had anything there like that.
I do want to throw out there real quick, we mentioned how great of a Christmas present this would be for people. Just to throw out there, it's sicw.org to get our tickets. I don't think we mentioned where to get them.
sicw.org. And it's pretty easy. And that's the other thing people are talking about it. You go on there, you can pick your own package that you want. If you want to just come to the Bruiser Brody Memorial that Saturday night, you can. I don't know why you'd want to just come to that. Again? I'm sorry.
Me win it again.
There you go. And then, but if you want to buy the bundle package, it's on there. And like I said, the deal with the first 50 fans, take that off the table. That's done. In fact, I meant to get a post out there earlier today, and I just got tied up and couldn't get it done. But I don't know if that's what prompted people to jump on there right away or what, but I'm excited about that. Now, if it peters out and that's the only 50 people that show up in May, then I did something wrong. But I got to believe that there's going to be more than 50 people show up.
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean that's great for the Bill After thing, because we packed that room last year. Yeah. And I think bringing the aspect of actually talking to the legends and getting some of those stories out of them, I think that's going to bring a lot of people in. Because that's my ideal of fun right there. I could just be sitting there drinking a beer and listening to that all night, and I'll be satisfied. So I think having them come in for a Q&A, I think that's going to be great.
Yeah. I can tell you, I think I got, if you can hold on 1 minute, I can tell you exactly, because my wife is really got me trying to keep better books now. And so we learn as we get older, but I think we got right at 12 legends booked, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 vendors so far. So
there's a lot of announcements coming, you're saying?
I'm sorry?
So there's a lot of announcements coming, you're saying?
Yeah, and again, we'll systematically put them out there. I think that helped out last year. I had people telling me they were kind of setting their clocks of waiting to see what I had coming in a day or two, but they started coming so fast last year. I had to make several announcements a week, and and I had guys that were doing podcasts that was saying, "Hey, we were waiting because we wanted to be able to talk about them on the podcast that we were doing," or something of that nature, So
Every
But,
week we had 5 or 6 more announcements.
Yeah, it was great.
yeah, and it gave everybody. And again, I appreciate everybody. And what you guys do is, and I don't know if you realize it, like you said, people are following what you're doing. You may not see large numbers right now, but I think you've seen numbers added, and you just got to be consistent. And that's where I've seen so many guys. They start these type of programs, and then when they don't make the big scale, when they don't see 10,000 followers in a couple of weeks, they get tired of it and say, "Oh, this ain't worth my time." It's a little bit different for you guys because you're in the business. You can sit here and talk about it. You can bring guests on that you can talk about with them. Just like the gentleman I told you earlier, text the gentleman that wants to do a complete episode of St. Louis in itself. He's done them in other territories, and he reached out to me, and we got everything worked out today. And I mean, we're going to start back to 1959, and we've got all of those audio tapes that Larry did with Gary Capetta. We're going to dissect them, and I've got all those programs that are in the hardbound books that we're going to talk about the main events and why the main events were given out, were put together that way. And so it's going to be fun. It's probably going to be about a 14 episodes all in when it's all said and done, or maybe more. It all depends how long-winded. Jim accused me of being long-winded earlier, but that's kind of what this gentleman talked to me about today. That and he's a perfectionist, and he wants to do it the right way, and I think it's another way that we're going to keep the light shining on St. Louis. Yeah. I really do.
What's great about FanFest and our FanFest is, like, you bring in the vendors besides the legends, because to a lot of fans, kids or even adults like me, we're still searching for those wrestlers that we had as a kid that we played with. And this is a nice way to get people access to those things, because these vendors, they bring in old vintage items plus the new stuff. And to me, that the whole weekend, like, I set aside the whole weekend for this, because you got Friday listening to the stories from the legends. You got well, even at the bar, I don't see how they'll complain about the bar money, because I'm sure the bar money will be there. Because last year the bar closed down at the other hotel, and we just stayed outside in the front of the hotels and drinking. So they missed out on all of our money.
Different.
Yeah,
the company might be different, because last year we set out with Haku. I don't think it's happening this year.
No, I don't think we're going to be able to. That was one of my problems that I had with the other hotel. They were upset about that, and when I put my business hat on, it was a wrong thing to do, and I was out there for a while. I should have. If nothing else, we should have went to somebody's room, because that's not the image you want. People who's pulling up there, maybe that have got reservations, and you pull up there and there's a bunch of big burly guys out there drinking beer. And so again, I take full responsibility for that. And I told them when I went and did my debriefing with them. But again, it was tit for tat. I mean, as they were bringing up that kind of stuff, I was bringing up the, hey, if you remember, you guys didn't even have a liquor license. We were going to have to give away liquor. And the bar closed down early the first year. And so it was a tit for tat. So to say that they didn't want us back there for next year, that would be not a true statement. I think I could have negotiated with them, but they couldn't assure me the air conditioning was going to be corrected. And in May, I mean, if we were having this thing in this type of weather, then I wouldn't have cared about the air conditioning, but it'd have been my luck. The furnace wouldn't have worked, so, but again, I think, overall it's a good decision. We've got one person at the Hilton that is our contact person, and she's been sweet to work with, and she will be our go-to person if we have any issues, and that's kind of what I liked, and I don't want to have to chase somebody around, and because there will be something that come up, there'll be some door lock that we have to get unlocked, and nobody will have a key for it or something like that, and but I think that the guests that we have come in are all great people. They're all great fans, and it's kind of like an extended family, like we are. I mean, people, like I said, from Canada, from Texas, from Florida. Darla Staggs is coming. Barbara Goodish is going to be there as always, and hopefully Pam will come. Morrison, and I just, it's kind of like getting everybody back together next year, and because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow, and I think that we need to at least get one more underneath our belt, and then see what happens after that, and we're all not getting any younger, I can tell you. Just ask my old bones; they'll tell you.
Well, so just to recap again, sicw.org. There's a phone number on that website too that you can call. May 16th and 17th.
Yep, May 16th, 17th. Yep, May 16th, 17th, 2025. And it sounds like it's a long way away, but I'm telling you, with the holidays, that time is going to fly by, especially with the other shows as we're putting them together. Then we do the TV, how that all goes. And before we know it, we're going to wake up and it's going to be July 1st. And we're going to be saying, oh, wait a minute, we only got 16 days before the Fan Fest. And then we'll have a show earlier in that month. So it'll be last minute pushing. And so, trying to put the matches together between now and then, and to make everything make sense again. And, but it's going to be interesting to see how we pull it off. If we can pull it off, as I call a trifecta, then I think from then on it will be easy sailing.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just kind of looking at these prices for the packages. I don't think these even went up in the past 2 years. I think this is all still the same pricing, like with everything and whatnot. Like, we're still making this extremely affordable for families.
And it's a good point, Bobby and Jim. I know you said you went to some of these other ones, and I don't know. I've heard some of the prices that they charge at some of the other ones. I don't know that for sure, because I haven't been to any of them other than the one I went to down in Arkansas for Jim Jones, and I took Bob Orton down there for Jason Jones, and his was real affordable too. And I think you have to know your demographics, and that's kind of what we've done here. And that was the one thing I had to tell the hotel is that I have to keep it affordable for my fans. I've had another promoter call me and say, hey, I want to bring in so-and-so, but I'm going to need to get $100 an autograph picture. And I said, that's not going to fly. Don't care who you bring. It's not going to happen here. And again, I say that because I know my fan base, and I wanted to be honest with them, because, I don't want them coming in thinking that they're going to cover their expenses, and they don't, because there's not too many fans. It's going to, when you're coming to these events, unless you're just coming there to see one individual, you're not going to get out of there without spending, $20 or $30, $40 for a couple of autographs. But if there's one guy that wants $100 a whack, that's basically all the money you probably got in your pocket. And So that's why, like you, Bobby, I'm glad you brought that up, because we have kept it affordable. That's why the hotel did, I think and it's only $1 or $2 cheaper than what last year's was. But again, it's something. For the people who are flying in, I think whether they're the guests or whether they're fans, they're going to find it a lot closer. They can take an Uber across the street because it's right across the interstate. But I just, or if they don't want to take the shuttle. So I think there's some cost savings there for them. I think from what I've seen, the rooms are nice. If you look on their website, they got pictures on there. But you're right. I had people the last 2 years say, Herb, you're crazy, man. If you're not getting $100, $125 a ticket, you're missing the boat. Well, then my boat's just got to sink, because I'm not gonna rip the fans off. I know I've got to cover my expenses the best I can, and it's like doing a show. I mean, you know what you got to have to make it. And there's times that you don't, and you just have to. That comes out of your pocket, and there's not.
What is still that's out there? You got fans telling you $125, but here you can get the Legend Q&A, Fan Fest, Hall of Fame ceremony, and the wrestling show for $85.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, to me, a bargain. I don't know where you could go and spend that. And plus, come and go. You can come in if you want to come at 10 o'clock on a Saturday when they open up, and then leave for a couple hours and come back and enjoy the Hall of Fame and enjoy the Bruiser Brody Memorial. And if you pay the premium upgrade to the first 2 rows around the ring, which we've had, I think as of today, we've had about 11 people's done that already. So, I mean, it's, it's not like you got to come and stay there for that price, or every time you leave and come back, you got to pay it again. So we've really made it accommodating for the fans.
So I'm just going to throw this in there. The last one I attended, it was more to get in the door just for the Fan Fest part than what you're charging. And that was not even to see the wrestling, because that was going to be more. You're looking for everything that they were doing. It was probably about $200, and that was before you even got an autograph from anyone. So that's your prices are just unbelievable. So if you're a fan of wrestling out there, this is the place to go. That you get your money's worth. You get to meet the legends. You get to see the Hall of Fame. Where I went, there was no Hall of Fame. So you get to be part of the Hall of Fame, seeing who's getting inducted that year or next year. And you get the Friday night show. They didn't have a Friday night show. They just had 2 days of Fan Fest, to get the autographs. But it's those extra things that I think you've thrown in there that's just beyond belief. The Bill Apter thing on Friday night, I think that is going to be a blowout. Besides for the wrestling on Saturday and the Hall of Fame and the legends that you're going to have, it's going to be a crazy weekend, and I look forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
Well, and I appreciate what you guys do. I mean, as I said, my wife literally talked about it at dinner tonight. The amount of circulation that's being done on social media just the last few days is unbelievable. And I know you guys are sharing it, and everybody else in the locker room, but even the fans are sharing it. People are on there saying, "Hey, I just bought my tickets," and I know they're telling the truth, because I can go on and check and see who bought tickets, and so there's nobody on there BSing. When our good friend Frank Murphy posted earlier this evening, I just got my ticket. I hope you can sit me next to my brother Don Simmons. And so sure enough, I was checking what the day's report was, and there's Frank Murphy's name on there. Of course, I wouldn't expect him not to be honest anyway, but So, I mean, there's people on there talking about how, hey, we bought our tickets already. One gentleman said, hey, I booked my room and I'm going to wait until after next week to buy my ticket. So, I mean, I think there's just a buzz, quite a few repeat business, but some new people that said, I haven't made the first two, but boy, I'm glad I'm able to get off of work to make this one. And so that's why I don't get too set back on bringing in repeat legends. Because I think that guys will want to see the Tito Santanas and the other names that's going to be coming out in the very near future.
Yeah.
And when
And
you got guys like Tito Santana, they're just so easy to talk to and will tell you story after story as long as you're willing to listen. Like, you don't mind meeting them multiple times.
well,
Right. Yeah.
And even that with Gangrel, Gangrel was just on AEW because when Edge switched from WWE to AEW, he brought Gangrel with him. So he's still out there. He's still well known, and fans are gonna love him. Nikita Koloff, that guy. I met him once before when you brought him in, but he is a great guy too.
Yeah. Well, I've never had Nikita in.
Oh, I thought it was Nikita.
No, we've never had Nikita in. We had Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we had.
I got a picture of my oldest son was about 5 with him.
Yeah, Nikolai did a lot of work for us back in the day, and even back with Larry. That's where I first met him at, and but that's why I was excited about getting Nikita, because he was back in the WCW days, and then with Jim Crockett Promotions and him and Ivan Koloff. So yeah, him and I actually talked when we were up in Iowa together this year. And of course, that was during the heat of the feud that was going on here. And I said, look, if this thing pans out right, I'd like to make this deal. And so he was actually the first one we announced for the coming in for the Fan Fest. So because he's not been in St. Louis for a long time.
Well, I stand corrected. I'm still looking forward to seeing him then.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, Nikita, Nikolai, we had in when Larry was still with us, because that's why I actually brought Nikolai in, because Larry hadn't seen him in a long time, and him and Joe were such good friends. And in fact, as soon as I picked Joe up at the airport that day, I had to take him straight to the nursing home to see Larry, and we had a great afternoon we spent together. And Larry was just all smiles, and because him and Joe, because if you remember, when Larry opened up his own promotion, Nikolai was one of the guys he brought in to do the feud with Brody and Professor Tanaka. They were all feuding at that time.
That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're able to come on tonight and share this with us, with our fans of the podcast. You're going to have to come back on probably multiple times until May, just so we can keep getting the updates.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. And like I said at the beginning, keep up doing what you're doing. I appreciate everything you guys do on the show here and in the locker room. And Nate, again, the work that you do help keeping the word out there. And you and your roving camera guy, he ought to, I don't know how many steps he gets in a night of a show, but boy, woo, he's running around that ring like a chicken with his head cut off. But I think if anybody looks at last Sunday night show, you'll see what that roving camera adds to the production. And I really was excited and really proud of that what was put together there. And I can't say enough for Brian. He pulls what little hair he's got left, because when we're doing the post editing, I'm sitting there, switch here, switch there, sync this, sync that. And so sometimes I can hear him thinking, some thoughts, and they aren't good thoughts about me.
I'm sure Nate thinks that too sometimes.
Well, as Nate, you probably know, every time you switch from one camera to another, there's different steps you have to do, uh, and there's times that I like a shot, and sometimes there's not, and then I'll say, I'll go back. I don't like that one either, and then it's 3 steps you got to go back to erase that one, and so.
Yeah.
But
And hopefully it doesn't
someday,
mess up the other trailing shots.
yeah, someday we're going to find some easier program or easier equipment out there to use. But right now we're just a bunch of old poor boys that are trying to have fun and make the best out of things.
Yes. All right, Herb. I think we're gonna wrap you up, but I appreciate you coming on, giving us all the details about it. Again, guys, go to sicw.org. You can sign up for whatever package you want. It's going to be May 16th to May 17th, 2-day event, and it's if it's anything close to the first one and the second one, you guys are just going to have a blast, definitely. But yeah, got to come back on and give us some more updates on who you're going to announce.
Trust me, there's going to be some surprises coming.
Sweet, that's what I like to hear.
All right, guys. Take care. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yep. Hello.
So you guys just heard from Herb Simmons, talking about Mayfest, talking about how he's going to carry this promotion through this year, and going to go back to the racetracks, going to go back to a couple places we went to, whether it be the Missouri Athletic, what's it called, the Missouri Athletic Buildings Association or something, to Breeze, to Fairmont. So definitely we got
still missing the club.
another big year for us. I do want to recap a couple things from last week. WWE just had their big pay-per-view. It was their Survivor Series / War Games. I don't know if you guys were able to catch any of that.
No, but I heard it was underwhelming and way too safe for people's liking.
Way too safe? I don't know. The matches I caught, again, I just skimmed through it. The Nakamura versus what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Shinsuke?
No, it was Nakamura, but it was against the guy that's
Oh, LA Knight.
LA Knight. That match was a little lackluster, but I tell you, the finish to the War Games, the Bloodline, the OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline, with the addition of CM Punk and that other big monster for the new Bloodline. That was, I think, hands down a great match. You had a little story within the story, because CM Punk got kind of snubbed by Roman Reigns, because CM Punk wanted to get out there, and Roman held him back. And then at one point, it was time for their cell to open again to let another guy out. And Roman was going to go, but CM Punk pushed him back and shut the gate so that CM Punk could go out there. What was his name? The Monster, I think his name was it Jason? It wasn't. What was his name?
Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed. That guy jumped off the top of the cage. Now, granted, he broke his ankle when he did it, but Roman Reigns was on the table. CM Punk grabbed Roman to kind of show him that, he was in line with the OG Bloodline, and it just missed. I mean, they had that down to such a great detail that as soon as he pulled him off, he was there to smash through the table. The bad news is, even when I get onto the top rope and start doing stupid shit, it's very bad for big people to do things like that. And when he fell, jumped off the cage, your feet just dangle, and he just landed wrong with one of his legs and just shattered his ankle, is what I heard. Yeah, it was great. Of course, yesterday, when you guys see this, it'll be Thursday, but yesterday was Monday. We talked about New Day coming. They're going to be their 10-year anniversary, and they kind of got into it last week. Well, we found out what it is. So Big E came out, was talking to the other two guys about, hey, we should be a brotherhood. You guys don't need to be going at it. But it turned out that those two guys joined forces and started dogging on Big E, saying that, where were you? We know you had a broken neck, but you could have came back and been our manager this whole time instead of, I think Big E was coming out through the pay-per-views and doing like that the pre-show show that WWE puts on. But he wasn't coming out and being their manager or being associated with them. So it looks like they're turning heel is what it is. The big day, New Day has always been this positive, funny, happy-go-lucky type of tag team. It looks like they're actually going to switch gears and get a little serious and maybe even a little heelish. So that's going to be kind of cool. We talked about breaking them up last week and how it would be a good push for both of them. But I think switching them heel or letting their true nature shine out is going to push them too. Not too much on AEW. I didn't hear anything really yay or nay. I know Eric Bischoff is kind of taking some heat because he said some bad things about AEW and
He just said the same thing we've been saying. The exact same thing we've been saying. That's
so true. I was just going to bring that up because he is talking about how no one knows how to build a storyline in AEW and how they should know better and learn from that. And that's why they're not filling out the arenas. Well, evidently he's getting a lot of backlash, which is weird because Eric Bischoff is not the only one that's saying this. So many other legends and superstars are saying the same thing, that they really need to get some creative juices flowing and start building these things. They got a big TV deal where they're going to make millions off of this. So the money's going to be there. That's normally the first thing that goes is the money dries up and then the promotion dries up. Well, the promotion has, a bankroll with Tony Khan's money and his daddy's money. But now they got this big, lucrative TV deal that's worth millions. So now I think they need to actually listen to Eric Bischoff, maybe. Some people are saying, well, he killed WCW. And when you hear stories, especially there's one of those behind-the-scene things that they did last year on what killed WCW. There was a lot more things going in and out of WCW that caused the downfall. But we're also talking, that's 20 years ago, plus 20 years, for Eric to be out of that, which I think he has grown wiser. And if you listen to his podcast, he'll even tell you what mistakes he realized he did and what he would do now if he could go back. So he already knows his mistakes and he's just trying to help AEW out, I think.
And here's the proof he knows at least what he was doing, just needed a little bit of guidance. They hired him at WWE after WCW folded. If he was just completely worthless, he wouldn't have been hired. He just needed a little bit of guidance. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, because Jim is not going to hire a guy that's going to tank his organization.
Well, as I brought to you guys' attention last week, WWE announced that they were bringing Eric Bischoff in for NXT. So, and that's working with the new generation, which basically AEW, yes, they have a lot of famous wrestlers that were from WWE, but it's got a lot of new guys coming through that, that system. And for them to, talk bad about Eric Bischoff because he's trying to throw some wisdom out there, WWE is showing, hey, we'll take his wisdom and help our new guys too. So there's a lot of promotions because he's still working for MLW. Yeah, MLW. I think it's that one, or it might be a different name, but the Canadian organization that's a split off from when they fired the guy, the head creative guy from TNA. So Eric Bischoff is the guy to learn from. So I wouldn't, just start dogging him for being outspoken. But yeah, so that's pretty much it on that. Nothing really new news. I kind of guessed that Seth Rollins and CM Punk were going to go at it, and that opened the show on Monday Night Raw. CM Punk was talking, and then Seth Rollins came out. It just seemed like since day one that CM Punk came back to WWE, that Seth Rollins already showed his true colors on his face when CM Punk popped up at that pay-per-view. So nothing creates a great story than personal problems between each other. So you already know that those two might not like each other, at least to the least aspect. I think there's a little hatred, but we'll just keep it as they don't like each other. So that's going to make, that right there is going to be a few pay-per-views right there of them going back and forth. That might lead them to WrestleMania, which CM Punk announced that his main goal in WWE is to headline WrestleMania because he never really got it his first time around. So him versus Seth Rollins, that will be a good match in my eyes. So let me do this again. I just started talking about it last week, how I had bought the Ultimate Warrior. This is the Hasbro. This is the 12-inch. It's talking ones. They only made two. They made the Ultimate Warrior and they made the Hulk Hogan. Well, previously on a previous podcast, I showed that I bought the Ultimate Warrior. But I do want to show that I actually got the Hulk Hogan as well. I think these are great. They're kind of scaled to what a Hasbro WWF action figure was, just bigger and bolder. And this one, same thing. It's got the pull string, and you can actually, you can hear what he says. He's got 24-inch pythons. Hands down, these are like probably the best toys that I got. These two right here. They're big and they're so detail oriented.
They don't look
that
24
was great. Huh?
They don't look 24 inches.
They're 12 inches, not 20. Oh, you mean his pythons? You never know. No, probably right now, Hulk Hogan probably don't have 20-inch pythons, because he's getting older. He's having those surgeries left and right. But then on the older action figures, which is AWA, I tell you I've been buying those too. This one's Michael Hayes, which is part of the Freebirds, which is, the long story about the Freebirds and the Von Erichs going at it. That was a showdown that they were able to take the different territories. If the Freebirds showed up in Memphis, the Von Erichs would show up and get them. And then they did that everywhere. That was just a classic feud. So it was kind of cool to really.
I'm working with Brian trying to get when they did that Wrestling at the Chase.
They were trying to bring that here, but it never really got here. Because they, when Herb was talking about Larry, when he first started his promotion, he was hoping to get that there too, because the rivalry between those guys was just classic. But yeah, so that's what I picked up this week. It's the first. Did you get your box?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. I will say that for
Maybe
next
week.
You're right. But that's it. I just wanted to show those two guys off, and so glad that we got to be able to talk about Mayfest, because that whole, like, I was trying to, Herb is not like a toy person. Herb collects, the magazines, and which I still do too, the magazines and the little pamphlets that you get at the show that the programs. He collects those and collects the outfits that legends used to wear to the ring. Now, I ain't got the money that Herb's got to go out and buy the old title belts, because I've seen his collection of title belts, and he's got some of the ladies' outfits that some of these ladies wrestlers and the guys wore to the ring. That takes money. I don't have money, so I just cling to my childhood, which was the action figures, the Hasbros, the AWAs, the LJNs. And these fan fests are a great way to find them cheap. And especially since, like Herb said, that there's 8 already signed up to do it. That means there's going to be 8 different little companies that you can pick and choose from and like bid again and say, hey, he's got it for $5, I'll buy it off of you if it's $4, So it's one of those things. As just a wrestling fan or a wrestler, these fan fests are great, and so I can't wait for that. I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and buy my tickets, at least for the hotel here this week too, just to make sure that I got a room booked for the weekend.
Well, I
Sounds
did
like
look.
going
A
quick.
lot of the best rooms are filled up. All the suites are filled up, and a lot of the larger rooms have been booked because also there's some comedian, Saragua or Segura or whatever his name is.
Tom
playing
Segura.
the same, yeah, because he's
Yeah.
playing the same 16th and 17th. He's playing.
Ah, well.
So they're going quick.
I like
That's what
him
I'm
too,
saying.
but Fan Fest is going to be way better.
Oh yes. But I do want to talk. Before we started, I noticed that we have 525 subscribers, so we're blowing the roof off of the subscribers. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and subscribing. And if you're new here, please, just hit the like button. Leave a comment too. It's been a little bit since we had any comments on these videos, but I tell you, our last podcast had over 100 views, and there was a little glitch in the podcast too, which Nate ended up doing a second part to that podcast, and that's even got like around 50 views. So overall, it's about 150 to 170 views on last week's podcast.
And I don't know how that glitch happened because before uploading it, I always watch it again. I mean, I watch our podcast 5 or 6 times. I'm tired of myself. Along with everything else, I watch it over and over again, and I have no idea where it happened.
I don't know either, because I couldn't catch our podcast when I was going live, so I caught it like 50 minutes into the podcast is when I was first initially getting on, and I'm like, I can't hear us. I can see us. We're definitely talking. I just can't hear us. So I got on the computer at work, and same thing. But then after it was done and over with, I was able to go back and start from the beginning, and clearly you could hear us. So I don't know what happened, but you definitely worked around it, and we had the most views that we've had in quite some time on the podcast. So maybe we should just maybe the people don't want me talking, and they tuned in just to see the mouth going. I don't know. Maybe we should do that again. Just make it a little bit. No, I don't know.
They're saying they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear your voice. They just want to see the party mouth.
A bunch of furry.
Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing the videos. If you can continue to do that, that'll be much appreciated, because we love doing this, and we would love to get it bigger, and we would love, I think our next goal is 1,000. If we can get up to 1,000, we can start doing other things with this podcast. unfortunately, I know Glenn Williams and Kowalski is going to take over this podcast here pretty soon. Might be even next week. I don't know. So that might lower the subscriber levels or the views. Then we'll have to come firing right back the next week and get those viewerships back. But
Yeah, we'll have to bring Ron on and Danny Boy and get those viewers back, huh?
right.
And Gary, see if you can redo his look. I was surprised when I put that picture out. Nobody talked about the look on Gary's face. I thought it was the funniest thing. That's why I put the picture out.
On Facebook, it went crazy. That's what everyone, as much as they talked about Bobby pouring the champagne over Herb's head, they talked about Gary's look on his face. So, I mean, it was hand in hand. But definitely, I mean, I couldn't believe that Bob Orton would do such a thing. But who knows?
Yeah, Ron, I mean, why would he do that?
Right. You know, the funniest thing is when I said, I had on one of the posts, I said, I can't believe Gary would pour champagne on Herb's head. And no one ever said, that's a white arm. No one ever put that out there. Like, that is clearly not Gary. But
there's too much PC nowadays. Nobody wanted to say what your arm identified as.
Right, I guess. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week. I was glad that Herb was able to come on. I was kind of hoping that he would have dropped another name because he was talking about how there's 12 or 13.
And only
got
3
three
right
teams out there right now. So I was kind of hoping, but
you didn't press them. You gotta be a hard hitting journalist and hammer them and say, bring it on out.
Well, you know, that's Tom from the Golden Goose. You were here too on the podcast, and you didn't bring it up.
Nobody watches this shit for me.
Of course they do. But yeah, so we'll just have to have him on.
Poke the bear. Yeah.
Right. We'll just have to have him on, and maybe next month or so, just to recap the new guys that's coming in. Because I already have some hintage to what it could be, and I don't want to spoil it. But if it happens, it's going to be big. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Little spoiler. It's going to be huge. But from everyone from the Squared Ring Podcast, thank you for tuning in, and subscribe and like and comment, and please share. Guys, stick around for a second.